So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to another NEARC community event. My name is Katie Grillo, and I am the GIS Web Technology Specialist at the City of Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm also an adjunct professor at Jefferson University and your current NEARC board president. So we are here today for another NEARC community event, and today our focus is going to be ArcGIS Solutions. But before we jump into that, just want to take a step back. I know most of you have already heard this speech already, but just as a reminder or overview for anyone that's new, NEARC is the Northeast ARC Users Group, and we are a volunteer-based nonprofit organization that hosts 2 major conferences in the Northeast every year. We have a one-day event every spring. And this year we will be at Westfield State University in Westfield, Massachusetts. And that event will be, yes, in person. So we look forward to seeing you there and reuniting with one another. That event is Monday, May 16th. And the call for abstracts is currently out. So if you would like to attend and you'd like to present and share your work, then highly encourage you to submit an abstract. We also have our 3-day fall conference, which this year is going to be at the Mount Washington Inn in Brentonwood, New Hampshire. And that event is November 6th through the 9th. So please mark your calendars and save the date for that. So in addition to these 2 major conferences, we have started hosting these community events. And these are hosted on a monthly basis. And we mix it up between doing some informal mappy hours. We have user presentations. Like last month, we had a user presentation from our friends in New York City. And then we also have the folks at ESRI that come in and give these deep dives into certain ESRI topics. So today we are going to have a presentation from Tom, Mark, and Karithika about ArcGIS Solutions. And we're doing things a little bit differently this time. We feel like we always end up running out of time at the end of these ESRI talks. And so today we've scheduled this meeting for an hour and a half. And the idea is that the presentation will be about an hour. And then the final half hour will be reserved for a Q&A, or I'll also create a few breakout rooms in case you want to just jump out into a room and have some like informal networking and chatting with one another. So a little bit of like a meetup and a presentation wrapped into this one event. So this is being recorded, and I will send a follow-up with details after the event. But enough from me. I will kick it over to Tom, Mark, and Karithika to introduce themselves and the topic for today.
Thanks, Katie. This is Krithika here, everybody. I'm going to start off our presentation today. Today, all 3 of us from ESRI, Tom, Mark, and myself, are going to give you an overview of ArcGIS Solutions. So I'm going to start it off by providing that high-level overview. Tom is going to go into the deployment and show you the different components after the solution has been deployed, and Mark is going to do a deep dive in a specific solution. So I'm going to dive right into the presentation. I have multiple screens, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop my video so that I'm not looking here and there and you're not like, oh, she's talking somewhere else. All right. So, both governments and private industries and other organizations, nonprofits, educational institutes have been using ArcGIS for a very long time to understand and mitigate challenges. And some of these challenges are things such as childhood obesity, housing challenges. And some might say that, governments are the longest standing users of the ArcGIS system. And they've been using ArcGIS to solve challenges such as equitable property value and even quality of life issues. So things that you see here on the screen are different ways that people use our technology to solve challenges. And while the pandemic has presented generational challenges to organizations, we are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we are starting to see life get back to somewhat normal circumstances. We ourselves are traveling to meet our customers, to events, and doing much more. But unfortunately, many of the challenges that existed before the pandemic still exist today. And in some cases, many of these issues have been exasperated by the pandemic. Many of them you see here, there are housing crisis, health issues, even economic crisis. So there are many challenges that organizations are faced with that they need to solve. And as a result, ArcGIS implementations in these organizations must also evolve to meet these challenges. These organizations, many times need to go beyond the desktop solutions that they provide and focus on business solutions to meet the needs of organizations and the stakeholders. They have to include a broad suite of solutions that address diverse information needs across various departments within an organization. And another thing is organizations need to be flexible so they can respond to the needs as they arise. The pandemic has showed us that, being flexible is really important and critical to be able to respond in a timely manner. And the other one is being able to provide internal and external stakeholders with that digital experience that they expect. So many of us, we expect organizations to provide that really rich consumer experience that many of us enjoy in our personal lives today. So we expect governments and other private organizations to provide that same experience. And now is the time that ArcGIS can also support more sophisticated GIS capabilities like Internet of Things or machine learning, artificial intelligence to maximize the investment that they're making on location-based data. And finally, all these implementations need to be delivered on modern technology that can be sustained with limited resources or the limited time that organizations have to respond to the diverse needs that they're facing. Thankfully, the ArcGIS systems have evolved and we continuously evolve to meet the dynamic needs of an organization. So some people are still working primarily in desktop. Some people have servers incorporated into their system to manage their GIS data and applications. But many have already started using ArcGIS, a SaaS platform, which is ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise to take advantage of web GIS and make services easily available to the stakeholders. But today, what we're going to do is really dive into talking about ArcGIS solutions. What are ArcGIS solutions? These are industry-specific configurations for ArcGIS that align with your business need, and they transform your use of your ArcGIS and help you maximize your investment you are making in your location-based data. They provide an extensive set of capabilities that you can leverage immediately within your organization. So it comes with your ArcGIS subscription and maintenance. You don't have an additional cost to obtain and use these solutions. And one thing to note is that we've developed these solutions in collaboration with our community. So each of these solutions were developed in partnership with an organization that uses that specific workflow. And we have created or built these applications such that the broader community can leverage it and benefit from it. So these are fully supported with new releases, so you don't have to worry about maintaining any custom code or application on your end. So our mission to develop ArcGIS solutions were these. We want to help organizations solve common business challenges by applying location-based data to those challenges. We want to help organizations leverage the investment that they're making in location-based data and ArcGIS and provide the standard set of capabilities to improve service delivery and expand the reach of innovation throughout the business units that the organization support. Another critical thing is that these solutions help you stay current with technology and avoid legacy technologies that come with custom development. They allow you to leverage the new ArcGIS solution offerings and maximize your available resources within your organization and focus on the complex and unique needs of your organization. And like I mentioned before, we worked in partnership with organizations such as yourself to develop these solutions. So we incorporate industry best practices and industry tradecraft into these products so that everyone is able to have a better starting place. So we have about 150 plus solutions that we offer in the gallery. It's not going to be possible to talk about each one of them today. So if we boil them up, you'd find that we are helping organizations around these key points. We have a collection of solutions to help you manage your authoritative data, such as utility data management, address data management, being able to produce 3D maps, aggregate your data. For example, the water distribution data management solution can be used to map water distribution assets, edit the water distribution data, view the maps in the field, in the office, view the asset reports, etc. The road closures, for example, would be the solution would be able to help you maintain an inventory of road closures and also communicate the closures and detours to travelers. The second set of applications that I want to talk about are ones that help you understand community conditions and create that understanding about the community. Be able to perform analytical workflows such as crime analysis or neighborhood early warning or nighttime flow analysis, etc. For example, the crime analysis can be used to enhance public safety, identify emerging trends, organize law enforcement operations, and plan crime prevention strategies. So that's a good example of being able to understand your community conditions. The third set of solutions are ones that provide you a comprehensive operational system to manage an entire workflow. So for example, the election management solution helps you manage election day activities, view wait times in the polls, and manage issues that arise on election day. And they can even let you gauge voter sentiment after voters have voted. The dam safety, for example, can be used by dam safety staff to routinely inspect dams, manage field work assignments, and also monitor the inspections that are going on in dams. The fourth set of solutions help you visualize operational and strategic performance. For example, the performance management solution can be used to monitor key performance indicators and communicate the progress that you made on strategic outcomes to the general public. And the last set of solutions, which many of them are really interested in now, is that transparency and public engagement, which are key components to engage with your stakeholders. For example, the Vision Zero can be used to solicit transportation hazards and dangerous traffic behaviors on roadways from bikers, from drivers, and others using the public streets. And the recreation outreach solution can be used to increase participation in outdoor activities and understand recreation license trends. So these are, broadly the categories that the solutions fall under. And I'm going to go into next the gallery itself to show you how to navigate the gallery and find a solution. So we launched this new gallery, product gallery in November of 2021. So the gallery allows you to browse the entire collection of ArcGIS solutions before you even log in into your ArcGIS online organization. So this is publicly available. It allows you to easily discover the solutions that we offer. And this new and improved gallery experience, you can also view the quick information about what the solution offers, as well as some solutions offer a try it me option. So let's go into the demonstration here. So this is the gallery page, the solutions page where you can access the gallery from. The first page provides you an overview of what solutions are. You have resources which give you detailed information about each solution. And then when you click on gallery, you're able to go into that page that allows you to browse the different solutions available. You can also filter based on a keyword by typing it in here, or you could use the filters on the left panel. And so you could just filter out the newly released products, or you could go into each of these industries such as business or conservation or defense to see the different options available. So if I go into state and local, you'll see there are many subcategories, and you can select a subcategory and look at solutions in that subcategory. So here, each of these solutions have different icons. So the green icon means that it's been deployed. This icon means it's available in ArcGIS Online, and that is for being available in ArcGIS Enterprise. So, when I scroll down, you'll notice that, we have so many applications here. You could click on one of them, like here, I'm going to click on winter weather outreach. And what you'll see here is, a quick overview of what the solution offers. And you can also scroll through these pictures that provide you a quick overview of the different components within that solution. So like here, there's a hub site that comes with it. There is a media map that comes with it, which is a mobile app. You can also see that we get some surveys along with it. And as I scroll through it, you'll see the different components that come with it. So if you want to deploy it in your organization, you can just click the deploy now, and all the components are going to get deployed. So I'm not going to go into that part, but what you can also do is learn more about this application. It gives you a little bit more detailed information about it. There is also a try it live section for some applications or some solutions. And when you go into the try it live section, you can click on one of the components there and look at what you would get when you deploy the solution. So this is an example of the winter weather operations hub site. And as I scroll down, this is just sample data that's populated in each of these different buckets. And as I go down, you'll notice that there are different components such as, a dashboard or a web map incorporated within here. There are also options here for a survey. So I'm going to open that up in a new window. And you'll notice that, the survey opens in a new window. And as you scroll through this entire hub site, you'll see different components are here. And you can go into each of these components and explore what they do. So this also gives you a really good overview of what you get when you deploy a solution. Now, when you go back to the main site here, on top here, you can go into resources to get, discovery paths. And this allows you to, dive deeper into a couple of solutions that we have developed these discovery paths for, and, get started with that application or solution really quickly. All right. So just going back into my presentation here. So these solutions are sort of designed to be deployed in an iterative manner so that you can align your deployment with the solution and your business need. Many times business needs keep changing and you might want to deploy a newer version of the solution. So you could keep an eye out for newer versions and see what's coming in the newer version and deploy newer versions as well. So ultimately, when you start deploying many solutions, you can develop that authoritative source of data in your ArcGIS Online or Enterprise and manage that data that feeds into these various solutions. That way you have an entire network of application that is using your authoritative data from your source of choice. I really want to quickly talk about the community. So we have the ArcGIS Solutions website that offers links to many learning resources. This includes the help system. We do have some guided lessons on the learn.arcgis.com website. And you can also connect with others, using these solutions to ask questions in the ArcGIS Solutions board in our community page. And also you can join a meetup that the ArcGIS Solutions team hosts for users. So if you go to meetup.com and search for ArcGIS Solutions, we host a meetup every so often to provide you updates of what's coming new. And there's also options for submitting ideas to consider for enhancements. So if you go to the ArcGIS ideas page, you'll find a section for solutions where you can enter your ideas for solutions. Now I'm going to pass it over to Tom to do a deeper dive into the different components when you deploy a solution.
All right, thanks, Krithika. Let me share my screen. Does everyone see that? Did that work or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna keep rolling here with talking about what it means to deploy, how you deploy, although we've seen a little bit of that, and what that really does, what happens, sort of. So I'm here again on that solutions page. The easy URL for this is solutions.arcgis.com. It'll take you to this longer URL. I hit the view gallery. I'm not signed in right now, and obviously I can't deploy anything until I'm signed in. And if I were to try to deploy something, it would ask me to sign in. And when I do sign in, I'm actually going to sign in right now. It'll basically canvas my org and see which solutions have already been deployed. And there's a new tab here at the top here. It says My Solutions. And again, now these little check marks, these green check marks, only are showing me the ones that have been deployed in my org. Obviously, as Krithika showed, you can filter down things, you can search for things. So you can find the solution that might be interesting to you. And so, for instance, you might just pick this one. And again, as she mentioned, there's some slides here to help you understand it. There's the Learn More, which will take you to sort of the help about it and links to Try It Live if there are Try It Live things, and other documentation about how to configure and deploy it. I think one important thing to know is that we'll see in a minute that these solutions lay down a bunch of things in your org, but you don't have to use all parts of the solution if it doesn't make sense. And of course, things like you saw that hub site that was created that Krithika showed in the Try It Live, I think. You have control over that, so you don't have to leave it as it stands. You can tweak it however you want. Anyway, when we talk about deploying, I'm not going to hit this button because it'll actually deploy, and it's not very interesting to watch because all it does is sort of give you a count, like a progress bar from 0 to 100. So it's as simple though as clicking this deploy now, and it will indeed lay down things in your organization using the login that you specified. Now remember, it's going to put things down like surveys and web maps and experience builder apps and web app builder apps, whatever it is part of that solution. So whomever is logged in needs to obviously have publisher permissions. If you don't have publisher permissions, I mean, most of the people on this call are publishers or administrators, I'm sure of that. But if a viewer were to go in here or an editor or something, then they wouldn't be able to deploy it because it needs to lay down things as a publisher would lay down, things that it's going to create. Okay, so again, hitting the deploy now button will just kick off a little counter or a progress bar going from 0 to 100%. And so instead of me doing that, let's just take a look at what it puts down for you. Now, every solution is different. So sometimes there'll be only a few things and sometimes there'll be a lot of things. So I'm going to switch out of this view. I'll just show you my solutions. You can see it's filtered down only to the ones that I have already deployed. And let's go to lead service line inventory. I'm just going to open it. It's just going to open a window in my ArcGIS Online organization with the information about the solution. But before we go there, I'm going to switch to my content view and just show you what it does. When you deploy a solution like this, it lays down a folder within my content. So you can see I have folders that I use to organize my own content, but when I deploy something, it lays down something with that, the name of that solution. So in this case, lead service line inventory. And you can see that this particular solution lays down quite a few things. A hub site, a bunch of web mapping applications, which could be things like Experience Builder or Web App Builder, etc. It lays down some web maps and some feature layers, dashboard, and a project package. A project package is like an ArcGIS Pro project that you download and use on the desktop. Like I said, everything is different. Every solution will lay down different things. And again, important to say that you don't have to use all the pieces of the solution if you don't want to. You'll also see that it by default does not make things public. This is the sharing column here, all these little icons. So it's owned by me, shared to me only, or it's shared to me and potentially a group or multiple groups, but not to the public. So it's up to you when you do the deployment ultimately to share the things that need to be public with the public and add people to groups as needed. Every solution lays down an item type called a solution. So let's take a look at that. And besides giving you a basic description of the solution, it has that link back to the documentation, the online documentation. But probably more importantly, it actually lays out for you what the solution put down in your organization. So in this particular solution, let's just have a quick look here of what these things are. So it's laid down a project package. And if I click this, I'll just show you, open up a new window here. It takes me to the item, right? So this is an ArcGIS Pro project that you can download and use on your desktop. And then it's created a few groups for me and also a hub site. Let's open up these groups. And you sort of have to really pay attention to the hierarchy here because it's important to understand that. You've got the group itself, that's this lead service line editors. Within the group, here's a web map. That web map uses a view into a feature service. So the feature service at the bottom here, hosted feature layer, service line, and then a view on that for editors, so they maybe only can see certain things or only do certain things. So that's an example of the web map. And then here's an application, web mapping application that uses the web map. That web map uses the view on the service, right? And then here's another web map, and then here's an application that's tied to that web map. And again, we could click on any of these and have a look at what they are, and of course, edit them, right? So this is Web App Builder. I could go in and tweak it to look and how I want it to look. So that's an example of the different pieces here that you see. And again, you get this hierarchy so you can understand how things are laid out. And if you're not familiar with the idea of a view in ArcGIS Online for hosted feature layers, a view is just a way to sort of limit access or limit functionality on an underlying data layer. So I could hide fields, I could hide features, I could make a view read-only where the underlying feature service would be editable, but the view is read-only. So that is what I would share with the public, kind of thing. Okay, so that's the idea there, and I'm going to show you one other one, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mark because we're going to focus on taking you through this this tree management solution. So I'm going to jump down again. Remember, it creates a folder for me called I'll get there, tree management. That's the name of the solution. And again, you see all the things, quite a few things in this case, because there are a bunch of surveys, there's dashboards, there's web experience builder, web experiences here, et cetera, et cetera. A notebook, which is a Python script that can run online. And again, if I go to that solution, we'll see that same hierarchy to explain what the things are and what's involved inside of them. And in fact, this even includes a workforce implementation, so you can assign tasks or to field workers, etc. But again, you can have a quick look and see that same kind of hierarchy. Here's a dashboard. A dashboard uses a web map. There's a survey involved in there that is attached to this feature layer, tree assignments. There's a feature service here with, et cetera, et cetera. And so you get a sense of all the types of things that are inside of each of these components. This is an experience builder, web experience, another one. Here's that script. Here's a survey for, a desktop template. Here's a group for tree assignments that has all kinds of things inside it, et cetera. So you get a sense of that, and you get to see really that there, in this case, that solution, the tree management solution, actually puts quite a few pieces down for you. And again, you own them. They're shared appropriately until you share them with the public, but you can see there are forms for surveys. There's tables and feature layers, and views upon those, and dashboards and all that good stuff. So that's just to give you a sense of when you do implement one of these solutions, this is what's going to happen. It's going to create that folder. It's going to create things within that folder. It may create groups for you and all these items that you see here. So with that, I'm going to stop and turn it over to Mark. And he's going to take us through the tree management solution and some of the pieces of that.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So, whoops, that didn't come out the way I expected. So let me do that differently. Go over here. How's that? Okay, Tom, can you confirm with me that I'm showing the correct screen?
I got nothing.
Oh, that's not good. All right, that's interesting. Let's try this.
Yep, that's it.
All right. Well, I'll have to flip it back. That's odd. Zoom is, or my monitor setup is acting a little wonky, but that's okay. We'll deal because that's what we do. All right. So what I'd like to do here is sort of elaborate on this example of one of the solutions, as the example being the tree management solution. This is a fairly new solution that we've come up with. We had some things for managing tree urban canopy a little bit, very lightweight, maybe like a collector configuration, a web map, and a very lightweight dashboard. And as we've been doing with a lot of the solutions, we've taken that and really expanded on it. So we took out the tree component from a parks concept and made park assets a completely separate solution, which we could talk about another day. So actually, that's also fairly new and very comprehensive. And put tree management and urban canopy in a totally separate one. So this tree management solution is intended to do things like help you with your tree inventory. So to be able to streamline that whole process, do field assessments on tree conditions, collect information from the public. So they can say, hey, you know, we've noticed that the trees on our street are kind of sick. Can you come fix them? Or other things like we'd like to adopt a tree on our street, and you know, we're willing to like water it and help to take care of it. So things like that. So that's all part of the solution. Okay, my mouse is acting up now. This could be a good day. All right, so the components, Tom pointed out the components of the solution by looking at it in ArcGIS Online through the content view. Here's a little bit more of a graphical view of that, where we have ArcGIS Online or Enterprise as the hosting environment for our data. And then we have a data set that we're going to maintain. And that could be maintained, say, in ArcGIS Pro and then pushed up into ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise, and then maintained there or periodically updated, however you wish that workflow to work. And the solution also does include a Pro template. So a Pro project with some templates in there for attributes that are all preset up for trees, as well as some relationship classes for maintenance and inspection records. We've got components for the field staff. So the tree assignments, requests, tree field maps for them to use on their devices. We also have like a more of like a you know, stepping up to more of like a 10,000 foot view for the maintenance supervisor or the arborist. So they can look at through these dashboards that we've got it set up, like this tree management center. And then the volunteer coordination component. So internally, managing the volunteer staff, and then externally for the volunteers to be able to go and log their tree care activities. And then just some apps for the general public to say, you know, how do we want to interact with the public to communicate the work that we've done on our urban forestry project. So a hub configuration, because a hub is a great way to do that. And then through the hub configuration, access things like, hey, my family would like to adopt these 5 trees out in front of the house that are, you know, down in the right of way. And so we'd like to apply for that, and then be able to just go and like view trees out in the city and statuses and other information that might go in there, or request that someone come do something about a tree that might be ill. Okay, so that's all great. So some examples of that, just some quick screenshots before I do the demo. Like I said, the tree inventory work through an ArcGIS Pro project and includes a whole bunch of tasks that are sort of like pre-canned processes that you would go through to add a tree, retire a tree, record that a tree is, you know, currently in being treated, things like that. Using Pro to get it all set up before you go ahead and publish it. And then using that same Pro project if you wanted to manage the data, since Pro is great at working with data in ArcGIS Online or Enterprise. Our field maps and apps, which you can access from any of your mobile devices. I was going to use a phone today, but I have a problem getting my phone connected to the network here, so I'm going to use my iPad. The field maps, which are all set up to conduct the tree inventory and the inspections. The assessment of the tree conditions, then percolating back through and working through workforce projects. To be able to say, I'd like you to go out and inspect this specific tree, or I'd like you to go out into, say, this 5 city block area and treat the trees in that area for a certain pest or some fungus that we're worried about. So to control all of that work through workforce. Survey 1 through 3 forms to do things like assess the tree conditions, collect all that data out in the field, and then report that back for request for service. So again, doing that from some sort of a mobile device, although of course you could, and I have a couple of examples of just pulling those forms up right in your browser. That really doesn't make any difference. Assessing the tree conditions. So different from a couple of the solutions that Krithika and Tom showed, the tree management solution actually leverages Experience Builder in a couple of spots. So instead of using a web app builder to build an app, it's using our newer app Experience Builder and some of its new capabilities to put that together to create this great experience. This is kind of a cool thing. I like this. It's it's a great way to integrate a lot of different components and like immediately say pull up a survey form right from the Experience Builder app and other stuff like that. So that's another example. I'll show that. Another one for assessing the tree conditions. So where the in the office person, the arborist or someone can go in and they can see we've got a report of an unsafe tree. Maybe it's got like branches that are hanging over a building or hanging over some power lines. And we can see the request that has been put in for that. And then make a decision on what we want to do about that. And the public interaction component with increasing transparency and public trust through the use of a hub. So the hub is probably the best way to sort of socialize all this information and talk about how you'd like to communicate that to folks in the city or the county or the town or whatnot about the community urban forest program. So there's a hub configuration that you can take and run with. You can configure it, you can tweak it, you can do whatever you like with it. Okay, and then other applications that are also generated for the public to use that are linked off of the hub page. So Experience Builder apps and mobile apps that are specifically designed for the public to use and viewers. So if you have any of this data, if you have like a 3D model built for your city with 3D trees, it's kind of neat to bring that up in an Experience Builder application on the desktop. And then Experience Builder, since it's pretty smart about doing these things, morphs itself down to the mobile device format quite easily without having to do any recoding. Other survey forms for the public is to be able to say, hey, we've got a problem here. I'm going to show you the location here on my phone. Or here's a tree that like a snowplow knocked over last night. You might want to come do something about that. So standard requests for service. Like, obviously these are things that could be done through like a 311 system, but this is set up specifically for the trees. And the volunteer thing I mentioned for stewardship, so for people to be able to say, hey, I'd like to adopt a tree in my neighborhood and take care of it. So you adopt a tree and then you start reporting the things that you've done. So, we went out and we watered it, or we like put some bark mulch down, or we went down to the public works yard where they have like materials piled up for the volunteers to use. We went and we collected the materials, and then we did some pruning, and then we came back with the pruning stuff and dumped it at the recycling yard. And all of that stuff can be recorded. And then that Experience Builder, again, used for the volunteer coordinator to volunteer and locate and show where the activities are. So what I'm going to do now is jump out of that, and my iPad is freaking out over here. So again, just to confirm, let me get some of this other stuff off the screen. So you should be able to see my ArcGIS Pro project.
Yes.
Tom, yes. Okay, cool. All right, just making sure that the monitor I wanted to use is still being used correctly. Okay, so here's just some sample data that I pulled down and downloaded to use from our city of Naperville. You've probably seen this a million times, since Naperville is a city outside of Chicago that's periodically, they just share like anything and everything they have with us, so we can use it for demos. So here I've got my trees collected, and I've got that all up here in my ArcGIS Pro project. I'm collecting them by the site type, even though of course there's all sorts of attributes underlying these. So I'll show you that over here. So you can see that one specific tree, we're collecting all sorts of information about where it is, what's the common name for the tree, so white oak, the genus and the species. We got some diameter and height stats we're putting. When was it planted? Any wires present? All sorts of things like that. That's really important. So that's all data that could be updated out in the field if necessary, or updated in the office. Also things like any inspection maintenance records. So here's a maintenance record on the white oak. So we did some tree repair out there on that one. And then an inspection record where we just went out and did like a general inspection of that specific tree. So all that stuff is here in my project. So then I can go ahead and publish this. I'm not going to go through that process just so you don't have to like watch it, but then I could like publish that up into ArcGIS Online. So now at that point, I'm going to pass that off and grab my other screen and start looking at some of the components. So let's grab this guy. So as Tom showed, if I go into look at my content, I can see that I've got a folder for tree management. I've got all these pieces in here that he and I already talked about. We got web experience apps, we got web mapping apps, we've got notebooks, web maps, all these pieces and parts that work together, and then the actual solution item as well as in there. So we got that there, and there's also the hub item, and then the part where it comes in and actually gives you this breakdown, which I agree with Tom, this is great. This really sort of gives you an idea of like all the different pieces and parts and how they work. And this, I think, is just super valuable here, just as like an idea of how the whole application blends together. And that gets important to know. I mean, we've got a tree feature layer, but then it has probably 6 or 7 different feature layer views that are built on top of it. That are so for specific apps, what fields do I want that app to see, which columns do I want them to be able to edit, so things like that. So all of that is all built into here, as well as the notebooks, which is another piece in there with some automation scripts that are going to run in the background. So then as far as looking at what that looks like, so one of the web maps here, this is an empty one, but this is just showing, you know, what this is the very basic tree field map for my field users. So they're all going to be looking at this. This is one that I just deployed this a couple days ago, so there's really nothing in it. Okay, but the same sort of thing. I've got all the data in here. Sure, I could do this right here through the web map, but that's not very interesting. Instead, let's show doing this through my iPad. So you can see I could go out and pull up my field maps application here on my iPad, and I'll go over here to my field map. And so this is actually, I'm here in the office today instead of being at home. So obviously the GPS is pretty lousy because I'm inside the building, so you're jumping all over the place. But just if we were going to go in and say, yeah, we went out, we planted a tree, cancel that. And all of the different things that I can put in here. So it's planted, it's going to be, I don't know, an American elm. I don't know what the genus is. That should actually be an autofill for American elm, but I'm not going to fill that in now. I'm not an arborist. So when did we plant that? Maybe that was today. So that's good. We'll take that. And I could fill all these other things in if I wanted to, as well as like the location and whatnot. But just to give you an idea that, you know, we have this form, and whoops, I didn't specify the point. So that's good. And now submit that. Whoops. Back there. Oh, I didn't put put some required data in here. Grr. Okay, well, we're just going to cancel that anyway because I have another one I want to show while I'm here. Discard. So while we have our field map, we also have a workforce configuration. So our workforce configuration is going to show that I've got a work that's been assigned. This particular work has been assigned to me. It's pest and disease treatment. So I can go over here and say, oh, right. So I've been assigned this. We're going to do spraying of the trees around the entryway to the office. So I'll go ahead and say I'm going to start that. And then I'll open up the field map. And it'll jump right to that location. And let me start editing. Of course, there it is. Zoomed in way too far. So then I would go in and start adding in the new that I've gone in here and done the work here in the field map. At the same time, I also set up a configuration for Explorer. I'm not going to show that. I don't really have time. But the capabilities of Explorer have really been absorbed into field maps. So you really don't have to do that. I was asked that the other day. Workforce continues to be, it's a standalone development project, but there is a project afoot to merge the capabilities of Workforce in with field maps. So to have those pieces and parts put back in there. Okay, so let's shift back now to the office side. So just to check in, the field map can be configured right here in the Field Maps app in ArcGIS Online. So I can configure things like, do I want to use GPS averaging? Do I want to set up snapping? How do I want this to all work? Setting up the workforce project to say, here's my tree assignments. You just saw me do that inside of that one particular app on my iPad. But going in here and like adding new assignments to be able to do that here in the office. So that configuration is all set up for that. All right. So now let's look at some of the pieces and parts of the tree management parts that we had talked about in some of the slides that aren't for mobile. They're going to use some of the Try It Live data. So this is a fully populated data set. So it looks a little cooler. So for example, from the tree management side, here's a Experience Builder configuration where we've got this set up in the home page. I've got my link over here to monitoring tree activities. So this is going to show me my tree management center. So I can see all of my trees over here. I can see trees by planting spaces. How are the sidewalk conditions near specific trees? I can come down here and like pick one of the trees and see its inspection history and then also the maintenance history on that particular tree. I can look at those. I could go in here and work with specific trees from the map if I wanted to, or just interact with that map in general. And I've got like some scale dependencies set, so you don't get bombarded with labels. Obviously, you don't want to do that. But right from this console for tree management, I can say, hey, what I'd like to do here is to create an assignment, and it's going to jump right out to Survey 123. And it's going to say, oh, okay, how about an assignment type? Yeah, we'd just like to go in here and do some hazard removal. This is fairly high priority. We could say like, branch, near, branch, spell much, branch, near, building / window. And I could take a photo if I wanted to, and just go ahead and submit that. Okay, so that gets submitted and created, and then that gets collected over here, and then I can go in another part of the application and decide what I want to do with that request. Do I want to assign that to somebody, or what do I want to do? Speaking of requests, I can just go in and manage those. So I can see these over here. So we've got, for example, this pruning and canopy reduction, where we say, you know, this particular tree request, saying that the canopy is a little too big, it's overhanging the building. It's been submitted, okay, and it's been assigned to Troy, so that's fine. We're going to go ahead and run with that. And then if I want to, I can, you know, as the tree request manager, I can just go in here and start looking at all of these. Okay, so that's pretty cool. We've got a monitor, which is just more of a dashboard configuration to say, you know, I don't want whoever's running this particular app, they don't need to do any editing. They're not making any changes to any of the requests. So they just want to see this. So this is what I would refer to as, you know, more of like a classic dashboard application. No editing, and sort of like a 10,000 foot view of the data to be able to see what's going on here. So these are like all of our current requests. We got some submitted, some in progress. The request types, the pest and disease control being that seems to be the top one. Then we can also see those by month, and of course any of these can be blown up, so we can like see it in a larger scale, or look at, you know, like one specific one, you know, for stump removal. So this is a tree that had to get cut down, but the stump hasn't been removed yet. So there's a request to go out and see that, and then also be able to look. Yeah, okay, that's fine. At some of the tree assignments. So this is using Experience Builder to actually pull in the workforce results of the workforce assignment app right from its web page. So to be able to see that.
Hey, Mark, I just want to make you aware of time.
Yep. So, right. So the stewardship, this is where I can go in and I can view some of the stewards, like what are they doing? You know, what are their, I don't know why that's so slow. So these are all the folks that have like volunteered to do help, you know, with tree stewardship. So that's pretty cool. And then be able to see the status of what they're doing out there in the field. So that's great. We can see like the volunteer hours and the activity types and the steward status. So looking at that and, you know, saying like, you know, how many hours are our volunteers putting in? If I had like a target, if I wanted to say, hey, you know, our goal is to get 60 hours, you know, done by volunteers, I could have a gauge up here instead of just like instead of a statistic to show like what percentage or how close I am to that goal of having you know, more in hours or maybe in people, you know, to see that. Okay, so that's pretty cool. The hub configuration. So here's a good example of that. So here's our urban forest. And then like looking in here, this is just going to pull up the tree manager for the viewing part for the public. So this is cool. I mean, it's working all off the same data, but it's just a totally different view that's meant for the public. So all of our different, you know, different trees over here, looking at the details to say, you know, what kind of this? Oh, that's the dogwood. Yeah. You know, I was walking the dog the other day and I came across that. I'm going to put in a request for service because that tree looks pretty sick. So that, you know, set up, you know, for the public to be able to do that for the service requests. And then also coming in and applying to be a tree steward, to say like, hey, you know, what I'd like to do is I'd like to come in here and my family, we'd like to volunteer to help maintain some of the trees here in the right of way in front of our home, because we really like trees and we'd like to help out because we really like our town. Okay, so pieces and things like that, those are great for a hub. This is like an ideal hub configuration thing. And then at the bottom here, I included the calendar where you could say, you know, show like, hey, you know, we're going to have a little get together in the park for all those tree stewards to say thank you, and you know, we'll have a little picnic, bring the kids. Something like that. Or maybe there's like a date for bringing refuse to the recycling center for all the different things that you collected around the trees. Following the hub initiative to say, hey, I'd like to follow that, like learn more about it. And then down here, just some links and Q&A. All right, so there's a lot of stuff here, obviously, between the, you know, inside, outside, out in the field, GIS Pro use, the, you know, hubs and Experience Builder apps. But It's a pretty comprehensive solution. I think it's pretty impressive. I think the team did a great job with it. So if you've got more questions about it, I would suggest, let me close here real quick. You know, ping us with any questions you got afterwards or during, and we can talk about this whole tree management solution. I would like to point out some resources. The online documentation is very good, and it's intended to help walk you through the process of setting it up and getting it going. However, our ESRI professional services team is ready and willing and able to help with solution configuration. We've done this many times. Our local team here in Boston, I've worked with them, and they've done quite a bit of work here in New England and New York, helping set up solutions, and our partners as well. We have our business partners are well versed in helping to set up solutions for you if you need some help. And that is it for me. I think I ran over by 5 minutes. I apologize.
That's all right. Thank you so much, Mark. This is why we decided to schedule this this meeting a little bit longer than the previous ones. So thank you so much, Kritika, Tom, and Mark. And now we're going to kind of shift things and allow folks the opportunity to do Q&A. But I'm also going to open up. I just opened up 2 breakout rooms. So we will stay in this main room here for the Q&A, but if you feel like you want to just pop into one of the other rooms, then you're welcome to do that. There's a room for project sharing. So if you just want to chat about different projects you're working on, you can head in there. And then there's another one for the hotel lobby, which is just like a casual hangout. But as I said, we'll stay in this room here for Q&A. And I see that there's already a couple in there. So I'll hand it back over to maybe you, Mark, or Tom, answer questions.
Yeah, there's this question about, can you load your data into a solution? Can you use a solution if you already have a lot of data? And the answer, is yes. The idea, of course, is if you lay down the solution, it gives you a place for your data to land, or for you to create new data. And you can use tools that exist in Pro and or ArcGIS Online to move your data into the existing feature, the feature layers that are attached to the solution. Sometimes that involves some field mapping, like, figuring out how your data fields map to the ones in the solution. It also can mean altering the solution to add new fields, et cetera, to accommodate some of your things that may not be in the solution to start. So absolutely, we don't expect that everyone who deploys a solution is starting from scratch. You have to be able to get your data in there to, to use all the tools, et cetera, that are part of it. So that's hopefully that answers that one.
Yeah, one came in. Yeah, one came in
Right.
with the question about leaving the data in a geodatabase. You certainly could. You wouldn't be. It would have to be, if you wanted it to be live in ArcGIS Online or in Enterprise, like through Portal on the applications. It would have to be a data store that's visible to Portal. So you would set that up. And it would be like live data in, say, SQL Server or something, touched on that, and then, shared out. So I probably didn't say that well, Tom, but.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have your features hosted in ArcGIS Online.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a way to share them such that they are web accessible, through Enterprise, living in either your Enterprise geodatabase or other ways, then you could certainly do that. One of the things that makes it hard, though, is when you lay down the solution and it points you, it creates this empty layer for you to hold data, and then it creates views off that hosted layer, and it creates web maps, including that layer, and includes dashboards that use the web map and all these things. if you're saying, well, I have my own layer and I just want to use my own layer, then like sticking your layer in place of the hosted one becomes a bit of work because there's so many things that are reliant on it, and you won't be able to create views off of non-hosted layers. So it can be a bit tricky if you don't want to use the data source that we laid down. Is that a fair way to put it, Krithka and Mark?
Yeah.
Can you remove things that you might not implement? Absolutely, you can. If there's a dashboard that you'll never use, you can delete it. Just be careful with when you think about like removing a feature layer or a view on a feature layer or some other piece that might be hierarchically attached to other things, right? But if there is, for instance, an end product application like a dashboard, and you're like, I will never use this dashboard, which is sort of the highest level, right? Although the dashboard could be embedded in an experience builder app. So all of a sudden you delete the dashboard and the experience builder now is this big hole in it, so there could be repercussions, but you can absolutely delete things that are not pertinent to you.
There's a question about fleet management, which I would have to ask someone in that team about. It's like something for the commercial team, or if we're talking about fleet management for like plows and trucks, on a public works side, like I don't think we have anything like for actually like managing the vehicles.
No, but
for instance, vehicle tracking, but not.
Right. So the winter weather operations, is meant to hook into Velocity, which is sort of a live feed processor that's part of ArcGIS Online. So with that, in that respect, you could say that has to do with tracking, but not fleet management necessarily. Like, when was the last time I serviced this vehicle, and other things like that. I think there are some things around that, but not. I don't think these solutions that we're talking about, besides tracking vehicles, gets into any of that. Is that fair, Mark and Krithka?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Right.
That, but like I said, that I might want to. Yeah, like I don't know if like on the commercial team they talk about fleet management as far as like delivery vehicles and stuff like that goes, but it would be like a paradigm that might be usable across anyone who's managing a fleet of vehicles. But I don't know of like any specific fleet management thing that we have.
Right. Robert, I see your hand is up. If you still have a question, you want to unmute, feel
free.
Certainly.
I just wanted to give a little bit of clarification. So
okay.
I'm the GIS program manager in a small DPW up in Rockport, and it being a small town, anything tech related, even remotely, instantly becomes GIS, even if it's something as simple as helping somebody set up their email. So what we're working on right now is building out a vehicle maintenance database and trying to track, like you said, the current status of vehicles, not necessarily positionally, but more so status of maintenance and things like that. With limited budgets, we want to make sure that, obviously, we'd like to replace every car on our replacement schedule, but we never seem to actually have enough money to do that. So trying to prioritize things that have racked up more cost and things like that. So I'm currently in the process of combining Survey 123 and some dashboarding to try and build it out, but I wasn't sure if either you guys were aware of or if anybody else on the call had dealt with that previously, or had any ideas, because I'm relatively new to dashboards, so I'm sure I'm doing it in quite a messy way, but it's working as of now so far in the development process.
I don't have any specific answer for you, unfortunately. I don't know if other people do. I mean, ESRI has a page about fleet management, but it sort of just loops around to different tools like you're using, not a package solution. There may be some partners of ours, and we could follow up afterwards, that sort of wrap things up into that kind of environment, we can follow up on that. But open to anyone else who has comments. Feel free to unmute. Other questions? Oh, there's one.
Steve Harmon. Stormwater solution.
Guess I don't know off the top of my head if we create videos for all of these things or specific ones. Like I know obviously Mark just did that on the fly. I know like there's some user conference talks focused around different industries like DPW kind of stuff or water, etc. I don't know that they get into any details of a walkthrough like that. I know that we do have, well, you've probably looked on things like YouTube, etc. You may not have found anything, but it's certainly something that we could follow up with you, Steve. You could email us. Like my email is tom s@esri.com. And shoot me an email. I can maybe we can follow up and see if it makes sense to talk with the water team, because we have a group of people who focus on water, wastewater, etc., who might be able to talk with you more focused about it.
Yeah, if anybody has recorded a video for that solution, it would be them. So we could like ping and ask them.
Yep.
Or maybe we could get some sort of an idea of getting some more of a comprehensive presentation on stormwater. I'm assuming it's like the small, the one that's totally ArcGIS Online hosted, not using utility network, on enterprise, etc.
Right.
If that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but anyway, Steve, shoot us an email and so we don't forget, and we'll follow up and see what we can find for you.
I'll also send a follow-up email to everyone that's registered for this event, and that'll include everyone's contact, or well, it'll include the ESRI folks' contact details.
Okay, yeah,
Great.
Cool. Yeah, Robert, Robert, your question about fleet management too, I would, if we find anything out, I'll also probably loop that through Timothy, who's like the local. She covers like all the towns in Mass. That's sort of like her thing. So Timothy Biggs, and we'll make sure to get you hooked up with her too. So she might have some insight.
And I threw a quick poll up just to see who from the audience has used solutions yet, and it looks like 33%, or 4 out of 12 of the folks that responded. I'm curious, anybody that's on the call that has used solutions, do you want to share which project you worked on or what your experience was like using it?
I know we have a lot of solutions, that were put out around vaccinations and COVID test sites and things like that. So sometimes those have been, I know those have been very popular over the last couple of years.
I've used the Citizen Reporter one to, well, I only used just a portion of it because I was trying to do a crowdsource effort and I didn't need all of the information that came with that tool, but I was trying to just understand how to set up a crowdsource tool. And so the solution was a great place for me to start, just to kind of get an understanding of what an end product would look like. And then I kind of broke it down and ripped it apart and took out just the one data layer that I knew that I needed for that particular project.
Yeah, that's a great example of not needing everything and just using what piece or pieces makes sense.
Hey, this is Tom in Portland, Maine. I just wanted to mention that there are a lot of really great sample forms solutions in the ArcGIS Survey 123 Connect platform. I know that seems like every month there's new users contributing, forms and templates that they've developed. Yeah, there's been a couple good things that we've used over the years. In the past, we kind of used a NASCO, sort of took the schema from PipeLogix and built that into a NASCO manhole inspection form, and served that up through Survey 123, so our field staff could take that into the field and conduct, massive inventory of and inspections of manholes, and do condition assessments of those infrastructure. Then there was another example where we haven't actually deployed it on a project yet, and I know that one of ESRI's competitors, WildNote, has tried to develop and implement a form for this, but there is the US ACE wetland determination form that a lot of wetland scientists use that I've tried to kind of get this off the ground a little bit in the ESRI forums, because I drafted a template based on, I think it was the mid-Atlantic region. And so there's a sort of a draft form. Not sure it's actually going to appear in the Survey 123 portal here, but shared a couple links to it in the community forums. And so far, I think I just need more input from the community on how it works, things that we could improve with it, because eventually it would be great if this could become a formalized product served through Survey 123 Connect that folks, wetland scientists, could use to do their field work.
Yeah, that's a great example of people helping people kind of thing, for sure.
Tom, have you, I noticed that you guys are one of the communities that uses C-Click Fix, which I know is a partner with ESRI and we're planning on using a workforce tie-in for that. Have you guys done that at all up in Portland?
So I guess I misspoke. I live in Portland, Maine. I work actually for Tetra Tech now, but I am aware that, yeah, I am aware that the city of Portland does use that C-Click Fix platform for logging potholes and communities, crowdsourced reports on graffiti or needle pickups and things like that, other problems in the city. And yeah, I mean, Survey 123 is great in that it can be adapted to so many different applications. It's cool to see the tree inventory example, and gosh, there's just so many applications. It's great to see the product get adopted throughout wider series of industries.
Yeah, I'm essentially, and I think Tom and Mark, you mentioned trying to find partners that work well with some of this stuff. That was the C-Click Fix thing, is something that the community, I just started back in June, but the community had kind of already spearheaded the process to adopt that. It was being pushed forward by the town administrator and some others. So we got to kind of just jump on that bandwagon and see what it could do as from the GIS perspective. But now I'm trying to sort of get every ounce of usefulness I can out of it and out of ArcGIS Online, because software subscriptions are expensive. So the more I can get out of the fewer I need, the better, for sure. So
for sure. I encourage you also to look for that meetup. I don't know if we have an easy link to the meetup for.
I put it in the chat earlier,
Oh, you did?
but
Okay,
I can put it back in there again.
No, that's fine. Whatever. I encourage you to to at least join that group so you get notifications of when those meetups happen. Oftentimes those things lead to really great discussions about how things can be improved, and even get you connected with the solutions team. You know, like what Krithka mentioned, we try to, when we create solutions, we go and talk to actual users to try to, you know, get this to be a workable and usable and what people need solution. So it really opens the door into communication with that team through the meetups, through community, you know, the Esri community pages, et cetera, so that you have input into that that process when it makes sense.
I'm going to take this opportunity to plug, as we're speaking about events and groups, that we do have another NEARC community event coming up next month. And this is, we have somebody else joining us from Esri, but not in the same capacity, actually. Brian Baldwin is an adjunct professor, and I, as I mentioned at the beginning of this call, I'm also an adjunct. And so he and I were just kind of chatting about this shift that seems to be happening in higher education from desktop to online. So we'll be having a discussion and event centered around that on April 20th. So I put that in the chat too. And I want to open the floor too, if anybody else has any other events that they know of that are coming up that they'd like to share or promote.
There's a Rhode Island user group meeting coming up in 24, 20, I don't remember what date, it's 24th?
Yep.
Maybe of this month?
24th March.
We have that somewhere.
A quick Google will help you find that.
Yep. For those in New York, or if you're in Western New York by any wild chance, the GIS SIG conference, that is coming right up. I want to say that's April, I can tell you in 2 seconds, but it's typically held in the Rochester area. It's a user group community that's centered around Greater Rochester and Monroe County. And it's a good one. It's a really good user group, and we've been attending it forever. It's been virtual for a couple of years, but they're going back to in person. And that is, I'm going to be there because I just booked travel for it. The 5th, April 5th in Henrietta, New York. So for all you, if any of my New York folks are on the call, there's one in the western part of the state.
We will also, I just put in the chat too, just a reminder that the Spring NEARC conference is coming up in Massachusetts on May 16th, and that call for abstracts is open. So if anybody has a project, or maybe those 4 individuals on this call that mentioned they've worked with solutions, maybe you can do a talk about that. But we're open for any presentations, and we've got a variety of different options. So if you want to do a short talk, a long talk, you can even do a workshop. So lots of different options for submissions this year. So I encourage you to join us. And really looking forward to coming back into person. I know a lot of you heard me say that last year, but this time we're really doing it, which is very exciting. So just looking at the clock, I think we can go ahead and wrap up here. I just want to say thank you all again so much for coming. Thanks to those who hung on here to the end for this additional time for a question and answer. Thank you again to Mark, Krithka, and Tom from Esri for their presentation and sharing all of their knowledge with us here. We will be bringing them back again for another event. Stay tuned on the NEARC website for when we choose that date and time. But also, if you have a topic that you're interested in, please let us know, because these folks are interested in giving the people what they want. So let us know what you want to learn about, and maybe we can do a community event centered around it. All right, so thank you all so much again. We'll see you soon.